Hello and welcome to this nighttime taste challenge on a cold winter night. We have two 3-year age Canadian blended whiskeys, both bottled in Kentucky by Heaven Hill. But not started by Heaven Hill, but acquired by Heaven Hill because they're kind of like Sazerac. They go and acquire a lot of other like struggling brands and bring them into their portfolio. Here's Harwood, formerly known as Harwoods, apostrophe S, but they call it Harwood now, not Harwoods. It's from Heaven Hill, but it was originally a company called Duncan Harwood, and it was a distilling company, and their distillery was in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, in Western Canada. Some people are saying it was started in the 1930s. Somebody has said 1856, but there's no way they can back that up, so I'm not even talking about that. I know it goes back at least to the 1940s because I saw old advertisements for it from the 1940s talking about, look at our great distillery and everything. Then something happened and they had like a legal, like criminal case with one of their executives, and the company went out of business. The distillery is gone today. It's demolished. Something else downtown Vancouver today. I don't even think there's any part of the building left, but buildings left. But it was acquired by, I believe, Seagram's, the trademark rights, copyright, recipes. And it was reintroduced in 1969. Apparently, that's when the current trademark went into effect. And then Seagram's went out of business, and so it got under the control of Heaven Hill for the last 24. Actually, it's long. They have on their timeline when they acquired it. So it may not have been in 2000. It was a different year, like 97 or whatever. But it doesn't matter, or 2007. That's irrelevant. It is a Heaven Hill brand today. I'm not going to bother looking that up. But they don't really have a web page for it. They just have a product specification listing showing the bottle sizes. It's all 80 proof, okay? There's no extra, there's no cast strength version, no light version, no anything version. It's just that version. That's it. Now here's Black Velvet, introduced in 1951. And the same story. It came under other people's ownership. It was under Constellation Brands for a long time, and then Heaven Hill acquired it a few years ago. The distillery, the Black Velvet Distillery in Canada, they bought, and the brand rights. It cost them a lot of money. It's bottled in Kentucky now, common sense, since that's where their big bottling plant is in Bardstown, Kentucky. They bring it into Kentucky and bottle it there. It's a plastic bottle, I know. It's better to get glass, people say, but Mathern's had these for $8.99. And if I'd have waited a month, I could have gotten it for $7.99 because there was about 3 bottles left that weren't moving, and they dropped it to $7.99, but it was too late. It wasn't. So I could have bought it for $7.99. The normal price for this is usually about $14.99. Okay, so I still got a good deal at $8.99. This is called a travel bottle. It's flat. If you see the advertisements for these bottles, it's designed to fit in a suitcase and not to set off metal detectors because it's all plastic. All right. Anyway, yeah, that's it. So Black Velvet travel bottle. Morning to you, Maxwell, in the Russian Federation. Now, their tagline is blended at birth. So what they do with this one, they make the whiskeys, the grain whiskey, the malt whiskey, the rye whiskey. There's 3 they use: grain, malt, and rye. Grain is like corn, malt, barley malt, and rye. They blend them together as soon as they're distilled and let them age for 3 years. Like in Louisiana, people have their gumbo and they put it in the fridge after they eat the initial servings of it, and then it tastes better 3 days later because all the flavors meld together in the refrigerator. So when you have gumbo 3 days out the fridge and reheat it on the stove, it's better because it's cured together. And that's how they say they do their whiskey. They say, unlike most Canadian blended whiskeys, which they say are distilled and then aged separately and blended at the end and then bottled. Okay, so that's apparently that's the common way. Distill it, age the separate whiskeys, in Crown Royal's case, 50 different ones, blend them together and bottle it. But they do a different, like I said, different method. Distilled, blended, then aged, then bottled. Now, does it make it better? In my opinion, no. I don't even like this stuff. I bought it because it was cheap. I don't really care for black velvet. I don't think it's that smooth. It's kind of got a bad bite to it. And secondly, I didn't even like the Black Velvet Reserve, the 8-year age. There's an 8-year age version. They use the same method, but they go 8 years. I didn't find that was particularly good, and I got it for $10.99. That was a great. They had it on sale when I got it. So I'm not really, but I'm gonna be open minded. I have no reason to be hostile to it. Just saying, generally, when I've tried it, I didn't really care for it. Okay. But I have no reason to be unfair or, like I said, hostile to it. I really don't have that reason for any product, except maybe like something that the company does, that aggravates me. But still, I'm going to judge the product detached from that. Some people will say, "Oh, I don't like their political stance, so forth," so they're going to give it a bad score. Like, no, the product is the product. All right. Now, if you want to go after the company and criticize them for what they do, and there's no problem with that. You got a right to do that, or praise them for something they did. Praise. But it shouldn't reflect the quality of the product because it's not related to the quality of the product. Quality of the product is independent of what the company does to aggravate you or to inspire you or whatever. Okay, just keep that in mind. You want your review to be echo with it. Okay. Now, some people might say, well, you gave Bud Light kind of low scores in it generally over the years, so you got something against them, especially since April 1st, 2023. No, that's not true. I just never did think it was that good. I didn't think it was bad, but why would I pay extra money for Bud Light? I'm gonna pay $24.95. Okay, Walmart had a sale this past week. $23.95 for 24 cans, but I could get natural or let's say Keystone, a different company, Keystone Light 30 pack for $4 cheaper. I get 30 instead of 24, so I get 6 more beers, an extra 6-pack, and I save $4. And natural light tastes as good as Bud Light or Keystone Light or Milwaukee's Best Light. They're all as good or better. So now, does it always work out with whiskey? Well, no, not exactly. But sometimes it does. Okay, keep in mind, if they're in the similar class, 80 proof, 3-year age Canadian blended whiskey. So, you got to kind of use some discernment. You can't say, well, oh, I got this Crown Royal 18-year aged and it's a cask strength and I'm putting it up against Black Velvet and it beats it. I hope it does. It's 18-year age. It's higher proof. I don't even know if they have a higher proof 18-year, but there's definitely an 18-year age. And that's like $125 and that's $8.99. So that's not a comparable taste challenge. You could do the challenge. But it has to be taken into account. It's like beer, I'm not going to take Bud Light and put it up against Keystone Light, which is a good challenge, but then turn around and put it up against, I can't think of anything. I can't think of an exquisite light beer. You know what I mean? I can't think of any light beer, adjunct light beer or non-adjunct, all malt light beer, like Heineken Light. That's like high hat. You know what I mean? I don't think they have any light beers that's $18 a bottle, But if they do, let me know. But I'm not aware of any such thing. Okay. But you know what I'm saying? You want your taste challenges to be comparable. And if they're not exactly, you want to at least take those things into account. Here, they're comparable. They're about the same price per bottle of any size. They're the same proof, 80, 40% alcohol, let's call it. They're both aged 3 years, and they're both bottled in Kentucky. And they come in probably almost assuredly, can't say for sure though, from the same distillery. Of course, now the whiskeys could be sourced from different places in Canada, the grains or whatever. So that could vary. But they're very similar. And I think the flavor is going to be very similar. And I think I'm going to have a hard time telling them apart. And here we go right now. Yeah, sweet grain, nothing remarkable.